Pokemon FireRed and Leafgreen were quite amazing games. They are remakes of the first generation, so for a decent amount of Pokemon fans, this is where their journey started. So in today's video, I will be talking about top 10 reasons why I think these games were amazing. As, like any other game from the Pokemon series, it has its flaws, but I also think this game was quite amazing. So starting off the list at number 10, we have, well, the fact that this was a huge nostalgia trip. This was basically also the region where, in the series, in the Pokemon anime, Ash started this journey, and it's also just the first region that existed. Even if you didn't start out back then with Generation 1, it still has this nostalgic aura to it. It's something modern games just cannot copy. It's hard to describe exactly what it is, but I feel like these remakes just are filled to the brim with nostalgia. If you think of old Pokemon stuff, it's in here. And that's partially because of my number 9. That's the original 151 Pokemon. And those are just the most iconic Pokemon. They even made a TCG set for these 151 Pokemon. They are the most iconic Pokemon. If you think of Pokemon, for many people at least, this set comes to mind. And yeah, the original 151 were probably one of the best designed generations of Pokemon. I mean, some of the most iconic Pokemon, like Pikachu. Who doesn't know Pikachu? Likely if you grew up watching, your parents know Pikachu. Yeah, it's just a very nice and original starting set of Pokemon. And this area has them all, and it's kind of like Pokemon Black, where you only have the Pokemon from this generation, which can be considered positive or negative depending on who you ask. I think it's always cool to do that. But number 8 is, well, something that applies to almost every Pokemon game. It has great background music. And I mean, that just goes for any Pokemon game, so is this a cheap point? Yes. Is it true? Also, yes. But number 7 is that it adds new mechanics and fixes a lot of bugs from an otherwise outdated game. Generation 1 was the first Pokemon game. It was very old. And although I do respect it, it lacked many core features. And it's just dated in general. And there's many bugs. One of the things that come to mind is Pokemon abilities. Those have been added. And among that, we also have other things. It just adds more to the game, without ruining the balance too much. My number 6 is that it's basic in the best way. It's just a simple, straightforward game. The story isn't too complicated, the map layout is very simple. If you are looking to start your Pokemon journey, FireRed and Leafgreen is always a solid place to start. Either this or, in my opinion, Emerald, which makes Generation 3 perfect for starters. And besides that, yeah, it just makes for a simple game. It's also a great game to just, Nintendo will sue me for this, emulate on your way to work, for example, just play it in the train. It's easy to resume your last session. I believe it also is like this flashback moment thing, where you can look through what you did last time. It just makes it for a very great game to play on the move. But number 5 is that it added some post-game in the form of the Savai Islands. Not sure how to pronounce them. But the post-game has some extra islands that you can visit, with some extra content. I personally didn't go through them. I felt like the base game was fine on its own, which is often the case for Pokemon. I think usually in isolation the main story is just good, fun, and I rarely desire more. But it's there if you crave post-game. But number 4 is that it's a simple, straightforward region, which can be a plus or a negative. One can argue it's too simple, but I think it's fine. Sometimes being simple is good. In this case, it's hard to get lost because there really aren't that many places you can go. Opposite to certain games, like for example Violet, which has an open world, meaning it's easier to get lost, FireRed basically holds your hand and guides you through it, which makes it especially great for children and young kids. If you have a young child, or a young nephew, or a younger brother, or sister, this is the excellent game for exactly that reason. My number 3 is that it just simply patched the old version. It virtually removed reasons to play it. With a lot of remakes, usually there are still reasons to play the old version. Some people say, for example, that Pokemon Crystal is superior over Soul Silver. Some people say Emerald is superior over Alpha Sapphire. I've never seen somebody say, yeah, the original Pokemon the original Pokemon Red is better than FireRed. Nobody says this. These are accepted as the best versions of Kanto, even with newer remakes existing. Because that game, while it was beautiful, was a bit gimmicky. Talking about the Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu games. My number 2 is that the VS Seeker was the best only real good rematch style for Wild Trainers. Future generations tried to add another version of this, ways to rematch trainers, and sure, they had cute mechanics. You could basically call trainers, or they would call you for another match. But realistically, it was a lot of effort for just a simple trainer battle. I really liked how you could just walk around, charge it up, and then boom, on your screen rematch as many trainers as possible. One of the best ways to grind, and I think this game did a really solid job with the VS Seeker. My number 1 is that it has the same graphics as Emerald, Sapphire and Ruby, which I really like as a style. I said it in the other video, Soul Silver is where Pokemon peaked in visuals. Colosseum also had nice visuals. But there's definitely something to say for the Emerald, Sapphire, Ruby Generation 3 graphics, and this game has it as well. Now I'll admit, a lot of these points on this list were kind of stretching it. But it's a game that just feels right while not doing anything special. But that's alright, because it's a remake of the first game. I do wish they added a bit more, but it is what it is, and it's not a bad game. That's my list. Do you love FireRed? If so, do tell me in the comments why. If not, well, that's rough, buddy. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Goodbye.